Welcome to episode 35 of TruBlu Politics Podcast with Anita.
Hello.
And Karen. And today we are having some real talk about Republicans. So, Anita, we're kind of at this tipping point where supposedly people are starting to find out the consequences of their votes.
The problem is this is the consequences to them. It's not consequences; it's what they wanted, and
right.
we keep seeing these like FOFO #FOFO about these people that are just waking up and, oh my God, Donald Trump is horrible. And what the hell is going on? What is he doing? He's violating the Constitution. These people, they don't care. That we need to stop with this. Stop believing these people are ever going to come around, because they're not. They're the same people that voted for George W. Bush, voted for Ronald Reagan, that would have voted for Hitler. Okay. So, yeah, I think it's time to stop wishing, them just with hopium, that they're going to wake up and realize that they made a terrible, terrible mistake, that they must love America. That's what they say.
Yeah, I think that we have all given them far too much credit and overestimated their sense of decency.
And allegiance to this country. Their patriotism, because they tell us all the time they're patriots.
Yeah,
that's what they call themselves on Twitter. It's always patriot this, patriot that.
Yep, and they shame all of us when we are protesting, petitioning our government.
Or not wearing a flag lapel big enough, like Obama. Oh, he didn't wear his flag lapel.
Right.
They're those people.
Right. Yeah, unless we're humping a flag and,
That's patriotism to them.
Yeah.
Performative.
Yeah, and then, if you're not kissing a Bible, then you're not really a Christian.
Right. Because that's what Jesus would have said. Remember, that was one of the things he talked about. Kiss the Bible.
Kiss the Bible.
Forget about, love and any of that stuff. Feeding the poor.
Welcoming the stranger.
Yeah, welcoming the stranger.
Or, yeah.
They certainly don't care about that stuff.
Compassion, love.
No. This is not that. This is not the Jesus they worship. This Jesus, somebody told me on Twitter, this Jesus wasn't a cuck.
He wasn't a cuck.
Because I said that Jesus was woke. Jesus woke at AF. And they got offended.
Jesus, I think turn the other cheek was something that actually Jesus is credited with saying. And, so is that,
is it woke? Well, any kind of empathy or compassion.
Yeah,
that's woke.
And right. And not fighting back, fighting fire with fire, kind of trying to
turn the other cheek.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah, no.
So is that being a cuck?
No, what he meant to say was shoot him in the face.
Oh, yeah, get your AR and shoot him in the face.
Yeah, that's what he meant
They come to your door looking for
shoot
food.
Him in the face.
Yep.
If they try to cross your border, shoot him in the face.
That's it.
If they ask you for, a dime or a dollar, shoot him in the face.
Right. Yeah, so it is really past time to dispel with the niceties and giving any kind of leeway or grace to these people by, thinking that we can have conversations and, find some consensus. Those days are over. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, anyway, but you had sent to me this video clip, Tabitha Speaks Politics, and they're a young man who it sounds like he has a podcast or a stream. Yeah.
Parker Get a Job, it's called. And so he debates MAGA or Republicans and That's the clip she's going to play. Tabitha is going to play a clip from his YouTube channel. So this
Okay.
is third hand, but
Okay. So we'll play this and then we'll talk on the other side.
okay.
I don't talk to MAGA nuts. I talk about MAGA nuts, and here's why.
So I definitely voted for Trump, and I just wanted to throw a key point, and it doesn't even have anything to do with the prove me wrong, Trump is terrible for America. But the point is, the people that voted for Trump is because we wanted everything to happen that's happening to happen. Like, we didn't vote for Trump and be like, oh, Trump's not going to break any laws. Like, everybody that voted, we knew that he wasn't going to follow the Constitution.
Yeah.
We didn't care.
Yeah, I have a feeling
so that's the point. We want to change so bad that we didn't give a crap what the cost was.
Yeah, I have a feeling that you're going to leave before I could rebuttal your view, right?
Oh, no, you can.
You're going to stay up here for a conversation?
Yeah, sure.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I know. I don't know.
Why, like, no, seriously, why would you do that to yourself? Like, you're literally telling me that, oh, yeah, you want a constitutional crisis. You want someone that stands in opposition to what American values have been since the conception of our country. You want a criminal. You want a violent offender. So then how about you stop fucking virtue signaling about caring about those things as it would apply to individuals outside of Trump? Because it is y'all that have been saying, screaming at the top of your lungs, back the blue, support law and order, but then you say that you want the criminal, you want the felon, you want the person that's going to pardon violent January 6 rioters that drove stun guns into the necks of cops on January 6th. I understand that you're on this live saying that those are things that you wanted, so then stop fucking acting like you don't want them as it would apply to migrants. Stop acting like you don't want them as it would apply to women. Stop acting like you don't want them as it would apply to literally any fucking demographic outside of really rich, and really orange old white guys.
I don't know. I actually agree with you. That's the problem. Like, it's contradictory. So I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that the Democrats are wrong, or I'm not saying that your point of view is wrong at all whatsoever. I'm just saying that we knew what we voted for. So, like, even for you to sit there and argue with half the people that voted for Trump, it's pointless because they know what they voted for too, and they don't care.
So they don't care.
No, they don't care. It's not contradictory. It's just bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're being exposed, and she knows it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, all this talk about them coming around, it's not going to happen. We have to show up.
Mm-hmm.
This is up to us. We have to understand what we're up against, because these people are not going to help us.
No. And I mean, when, you and I have talked about this, and the Democrats that are talking about their Republican colleagues behind closed doors, saying that, they are, afraid, that they don't like what they're seeing, but they're too afraid to do anything about it. It just, what is the way out of this? Just hope and pray. I heard this morning's, I think it was this morning. It was on something that I was listening to. It was like, Democrats, what we really need to be doing now, maybe it was one of the Progress 127 shows anyway, but they were talking about what Democrats need to be doing in the lead up. And it can't just be Mark Elias. What they need to be doing is focusing on voter securing, voter registration and securing the vote. I think it was actually this morning, Simone Sanders was kind of touching on this too, that it's going to be all hands on deck, and that outvoting, getting enough people out is not going to be able to overtake the voter suppression that they have in mind. Yep. And the fact that Donald Trump, and all of the, these Republicans are basically, acting as though they're not afraid. They don't need to, like when Donald Trump was saying, you're not going to need to vote again, and I don't need your vote. That what should that say to all of us, and what the Democrats and people that actually care about our democracy need to do to make sure that voting in the midterms is going to be safe and secure, and that it's not going to be fucked with to such a degree that every election going forward is going to be like a Putin-style election.
Well, that's what they always say. And the fact of the matter is they use that to suppress the vote. They want us to be afraid. Remember before the 2022 midterms, it was all, it's going to be a giant red wave. This is what they do. Mm-hmm. And Democrats are the opposite. We're always like, oh my God, I hope we're okay. I hope we win. I mean, we never get out there and say, oh, there's going to be a giant blue wave.
Right.
I mean, Stephanie Miller does that, but,
Well,
but nobody else.
yeah.
But that's what they do. But what's true, what she's talking about, I think, because I didn't get to hear her, is getting out there and educating people about making sure you have the proper documentation. Because look, this time now that we have to change this, but what that SAVE Act that they passed did was make it very difficult for married women to vote if they've changed their name. I didn't change my name, thank God, but most women do still. And so you have to have your birth certificate and your marriage license when you register to vote. I don't know if it is when you go to vote, but still, if you're registering to vote, and even if you might want to call and find out exactly what documentation you need, because you want to be prepared. Now, what the problem with this also is that it is a poll tax, because getting your birth certificate, for me to get my birth certificate, costs money. I was not born in San Antonio. I was born in Corpus Christi. My husband was born in Okinawa, Japan.
Right.
So imagine trying to get that birth certificate. But yeah, no, it's so we need to educate people. I mean, maybe even set up a fund for people to get these documentations and get people out there to help them, get a hold of them. Because you know what, you have to take time off. You have to go and request the documents. Sometimes you have to go out. I had to do that to get my birth certificate. I had to go down to the city hall and request them, that for them to request it from Corpus Christi. So I'm just saying that's the kind of thing we should be. We have what, a year and a half, a little bit over a year and a half, or about a year and a half to get prepared. So we should all be out there. Everybody we know in your circle needs to know exactly what they need to do. And if you have the time, get out there and inform, get out there and start talking to other people and trying to inform and educate other people about and making sure that they have the proper documentation.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that we have less than that. I think we have 6 months to set up some sort of a grassroots effort and infrastructure in order to do that, and then a year to make sure that
it's implemented.
That it's implemented and that people are able to, because I don't think that we wait last minute.
Well, there already groups that kind of focus on that, like voter registration and stuff. Those people have to make sure they know, and they're out there doing, when they're registering people to vote. At the same time, they need to make sure that people have the proper documentation. Or, like in states like mine, we've got people that are having to do this all the time.
Right.
Because they're always looking for ways to suppress the vote here.
Yeah.
And it's confusing.
And I think that the opportunity with getting so many people out, to these different Tesla protests and the 50-51 and the indivisible groups, all of these massive protests that are happening pretty much daily. There has to be an effort at every single one of these where we are out there registering people to vote, letting them know what the laws are, the requirements are in their particular county. I think,
state.
Or state. Yeah, no, I think that, and it's kind of, obviously we're just kind of workshopping this, but that is really something that, we need to get on top of immediately.
And if we can contact, I guess, Indivisible or some of these other groups or any kind of voter outreach group and ask them what they're doing and whether you can help. And how you can help.
Yeah, because really what what you can do is you can have a bunch of people kind of working, through the crowd, have T-shirts, register to vote, I can help, or, ask me how to register to vote. And then, basically just, show them on their phone, go to vote.org, go to, rock the vote, whatever place, tool you can use to get them registered.
Well, not just registered, but educated about the law.
Yes, exactly.
Because here in Texas,
vote.org, though, that is a great resource.
That's what they do. Yeah.
Yes.
Here in Texas, when they tried to do that, where you had to show documentation that your name had changed when you got married, they did make you show your birth certificate and your marriage certificate at the time. There were
Okay.
people that could not vote because their names, and it was so confusing on purpose, by design.
Sure.
There were people that were not able to vote because their names were different on their voters registration than on their, ID.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, I think it's past time, just kind of for us to realize who these people are and what they are capable of, and just kind of cast aside any notion that they're willing to step up and find their courage in order to save our democracy. And
they
and
hate
then
our democracy. They hate it. They always
do.
have. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
They're the ones who passed these voter suppression laws. How can you love democracy when you don't want people to vote?
Right.
Unless they agree with you.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and it doesn't end just with, all of the performative stuff. It's also when you really, like that clip that you sent me, wrap up, a Hitler quote, right?
Yeah. Oh, these people. This is funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So do you want me to go ahead? I can play that.
Well, we could play that, or we could wait till the end. But yeah, no, that's fine. You can play that since you brought it up. It's kind of funny.
Okay. So here,
Go ahead.
go ahead. You set it up.
It's from Inside Edition, which is weird because we never play like something from Inside Edition, but it is. And it's funny because this interviewer is asking them or giving them a quote, and it's a Hitler quote, and they're not telling them. They're telling them it's a Trump quote.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in the end, they tell them it was Hitler.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll see what the reactions are.
Exactly. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and play this.
You're a Trump supporter, right?
Of course I am.
Perfect.
Go Trump.
It's a cringeworthy social experiment. Watch what happens when Donald Trump fans are read what they thought were quotes of his.
I've got a Trump pamphlet here, but I've replaced all the quotes with Hitler quotes.
Trump's been compared to the German dictator by some throughout his presidential campaign. But can these random people tell the difference between the two? SoFlo YouTube channel puts it to the test.
Who says I am not under the special protection of God? What do you think about that? Do you think
I feel like that's okay.
That's okay?
If Trump's an atheist, that's okay.
I do not see why man should not be as cruel as nature? Oh, why do you think he comes up with that?
Well, man is the cruelest animal.
Great liars are also great magicians. Wow. Well, I think that, he's going to lie in any way, probably to, support the country, to keep the country going.
Good.
There'll be good lies,
So you support everything that he's kind of said in this pamphlet here and in these quotes, right?
Of course. I'm a Trump fan.
Because Trump, because Trump said it.
Now, when he reveals the quotes are really Hitler's comments, their reactions are hysterical.
I'd say you're lying to me.
They are, though. They're quotes from Hitler.
You made this pamphlet and did that? Oh, my God. I'm definitely not down with racism.
So do you still support Trump?
Yeah, but I don't support Hitler.
Well, but you support these quotes, though, right?
Well, if Donald Trump said him, I'd support him.
Be sure to watch.
Jesus Christ. See? Donald Trump said I might support him.
Can't talk down to him, though. And,
no, do not. And don't call him stupid, okay?
Don't call him stupid, even though Trump himself says he loves the poorly educated.
And don't call them Nazis, even though they act like Nazis. And they think they wouldn't care if Donald Trump is. They don't care if Donald Trump is saying things that Hitler said. So, yeah, they get very upset.
I'm not a racist.
That.
How about yeah?
Oh, but I'm not down with the racism.
I'm not down with racism.
Well, then why are you down with Trump?
Right.
Doesn't make any sense. It's funny how defensive she got about that.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, just contorting. I mean, it's like they find ways to just twist and
to justify it.
Yeah.
Yeah. These people, they're just horrible people. I don't know what else to say. I know everybody says, oh, well, I know some, Trump supporters. And, I have a friend that's a Trump supporter. And I'm like, well, how? I mean, you don't share their values. You can't. If they are voting for this man, by now, we know exactly who he is. He is a criminal. He's literally a criminal. look how, he's an adjudicated rapist. He's destroying our country. He's deporting U.S. citizen kids with cancer.
Right.
U.S. citizen children with cancer. And the Republican Party don't get, screwed up about it because are confused about it because the Republican Party is going right along with him.
Yes, they are. And, I hear so many voters that, oh my gosh, they didn't know, they made a mistake, but they, and they say that the reason that they voted for him was because of the immigration, we had to do something about, yes, he was going to be the border and, and all this. And so that's what they used to justify it. But then, here we are. And, number one, okay, if you are uninformed enough to believe that undocumented people are not criminals, that, well, they're here illegally, though. You hear them say that, but it's a civil offense. They are not criminals. They're not violent criminals. They're, and so, but this
not just for being here, not just for coming here.
Exactly, but they find a way to justify it, and then they're willing to go there because it validates really what they feel. So I don't buy it when they say, "Well, we didn't, we didn't know he was going to do all this," or we're, now they're feeling like they made a mistake and they were misinformed.
That's not happening.
No, see, but that's what I mean. It's just like, no, I think that you wanted to believe it so much that you were not willing to do a little bit of work to find out. Or if you were around people, if you were around people that you knew were more tapped into this stuff, and maybe you're somebody that doesn't, pay that close attention, but you're lucky enough to be around people that do pay enough attention to this stuff and actually, have some knowledge about this. I mean, at the very least, if you don't feel confident in, your knowledge of it, why would you not maybe ask some questions? And I say it's because you wanted to believe it. That's what you want to believe about these people.
Well, yes, they want to believe that, and they knew what Donald Trump was going to do. He said bloody deportations. That's what he said, bloody mass deportations.
Right.
So the problem, the people, I have watched these interviews at the rallies by the Good Liars. Let me tell you, these people are happy about it. Do you think they're happy about somebody who they consider a criminal just because they came here they're not being deported to El Salvador. They're being sent to a concentration camp for life, a torture chamber, a gulag for the civil offense of crossing the border to have a better life.
Without due process.
Without any due process. They're being sentenced to life.
Right. And they're okay with that. They're okay with
that.
Going against the Constitution, is that woman earlier said.
That breaks the laws.
Right. So when the Republican Party put in place a Supreme Court that granted immunity and and now here you have an AG who, despite the fact that the Supreme Court said, no, that you can't do that, Donald Trump, they're not going to do anything to enforce what the Supreme Court has ordered. So basically, this guy, whether it is deemed a part of, what is it, an act as president, a presidential act, right?
Duties, it's part of
duties, part of his duty or whatever, it doesn't matter. He can break every single law, and it doesn't matter.
Can't question it.
And you can't question it. And because even if the court says, no, you can't do that, that doesn't fall under, the immunity that we granted you. Okay, because it wasn't for Joe Biden. Right. But basically the DOJ isn't going to do anything about it. Nobody's going to enforce it.
No, but we can't even question his motives. So he can say, I was protecting the country, whether it's bullshit or not.
Right.
We can't question him. The only recourse for us is the impeachment and the removal.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is Republicans are in control. And
That's it.
They're not going to do anything. Play that tape of Dan Goldman. This is during a Rules Committee hearing, okay? Which is like half Democrats, half Republicans, just about. Maybe there's one more Republican. But anyway, what's happening here in this committee hearing is the Republicans are just sitting on their hands. They're not debating the Democrats. They're not saying anything. They're just going along whatever Donald Trump wants. They're not going to try to defend it. They're just not going to say anything, and they're just going to vote. They're going to be okay with it. They're not going to do anything about it. And the Democrats are introducing a bill, or Dan Goldman is asking them a question just to see how far they would go. And that's what this is about.
Let's do it a different way. How about this? Raise your hand if you do not think children with cancer who are American citizens should be deported.
You do not think.
Okay, so Democrats are raising their hands.
Looks like it's all the Democrats and none of the Republicans.
So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
He asked them if we can deport U.S. citizen children with cancer, because that's what we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're okay with it. They're not gonna contest it. It doesn't matter what it is. He can violate the Constitution. It doesn't matter. So all these people wrapping them for years, for decades, who have been wrapping themselves up in the Constitution and the flag and pretending that they're such great patriots, don't give a shit about the Constitution. All they care about is power.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, and it is not, when Donald Trump stood up there and said, he's going to do mass deportations and cited the fact that these people were gang members and rapists and criminals, and they're a danger to the women and the children in this country, and he's the protector of women and children, right? I mean, this just completely, it's deporting U.S. citizens with their parents who are here while undocumented, wanting to go through legal channels. And it doesn't matter. These are not criminals. None of these people are criminals. No. And just because like you said, just because you are here as an undocumented, you come and enter the country and you're undocumented, that does not make you a criminal. Like, a
lot of them are refugees, and a lot of them are seeking asylum, and they're during the process of being approved.
Right.
They're going through the process, the legal process. And they're being arrested sometimes when they're doing that, when they're actually there at a facility to do it, because they're going for the lowest hanging fruit right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't give a crap. All this talk about, it's not, I like legal immigration. It's the illegals that I don't like.
Right.
They're just
they're just being right. And like we said, Trump didn't change this party. He's exposing them. He is exposing them for everything. And, you and I have talked about it. And like for me, Stuart Stevens is the only former Republican that I respect 100% because he literally came out and wrote a book. It was all a lie. They have never been anything that they claim to be. They are not, constitutionalists. They are not patriots. They are not pro-family. They are not pro-life. They are not Christian. They are not any of those things. None of any of those things.
If they're going to deport a kid with cancer, stage 4 cancer, okay?
And they're going to sit there and pretend that that's okay. And
a 4-year-old. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, no, it's just, What
they took that one girl from the hospital. She was being treated for cancer. They dragged her out of the hospital.
Right. Yeah.
That's the kind of people they are. They are the worst of the worst.
And where is the due process? I mean, even somebody like Donald Trump was afforded due process.
Yeah, plenty of due process.
Like beyond, like more due process than anybody.
That's right.
Has that
Yeah.
certainly, yeah,
Army of lawyers.
yeah,
Yep.
yes, exactly. So I mean, it's almost, we're at this point where it's like, what more evidence do we need? What more
It's
can we say?
cartoonish. It's
It
become
is.
cartoonish. It is like
It's
just a bad
stunning.
movie. Yeah.
It's stunning. I feel like half the time I'm just like, you watch any, the news or any of the breaking news, and it's stunning.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's our country. But, we honestly, if you're like me and Karen, you have been warning people for years about Republicans and about what direction they were going. And now we're here.
Mm-hmm.
This is my worst nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And, go back to Reagan. And even before that,
Right.
when, what's his name was running? Barry Goldwater.
Yeah. And so, what do you think it's going to take? I mean, because, they don't mind being called hypocrites. That doesn't,
Oh, no.
I mean, it's like, so where
just have to, we have to defeat them so bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way out of this. They have to be, it's just like Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany, there were Germans supporting Hitler all the way up to the end. He was in the bunker, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Preparing to kill himself. And there were people out there thinking, running around saying, oh, we can still win this. And the Russians were in Berlin, and yet they were still saying this. So, and they were shocked that he would kill himself. And the message he put out was that, Hitler died. This is what Goebbels put out, that Hitler died fighting, to the death. And it was all bullshit, and people believed it. But the only way that we defeated them, and Japan too, was devastating them. Mm-hmm. They had to be, and I hate to say that, but these are fellow Americans. And I want the best for everybody in America. That's why I'm a Democrat, because I do want the best for everyone. But these people are making it so, I'm feeling about, I don't know what else to say about them. I don't know what else to do with them.
Well, we're under siege, and they have been threatening all of us. And they have, this is what I say, to people, now where they're like, well, what, how do we make them, how do we repair the damage in, relationships with people that we know, family members that we know that voted for this. And, I'm really kind of, at a loss as to, and honestly, I don't think that the onus isn't on any of us. The onus is it's on them. And, also that, that reckoning and, maybe looking inward and, asking themselves, why would I vote to hurt people that I know and say that I love? Why was I willing to do that? Is there any, where is the interest? There has to be some work done before, we can kind of get to that point. And then I guess the question, and some people that are Trump voters, and I know some people that voted for him. And, to me, I think it's, well, you have to acknowledge that you did this thing, and you have to acknowledge the harm that you inflicted, not only on other people that you didn't know, but on all of us, like everybody. You have hurt all of us. And so, is it a situation where now you're going to have to, really do the work. So now you're going to have to get on the phone, call every Republican member of Congress that you can. Now you're going to have to go out and make sure that you're registering people to vote. What is their responsibility now if they truly want to make things right?
Well, if they want to make, first of all, they have to come clean, and they're going to have to educate themselves, and they're just going to have to prove it. They're going to just have to prove it. But as far as like, what can we do with them? We have to start by educating these people. They have to be our media, our television, and especially like social media and things like Facebook and stuff. These things have to be completely reformed. And they shouldn't be, just, like with a liberal point of view or a lefty point of view. They have to just be factual, okay? We're going to have a problem with some stuff. Some stuff's going to make us uncomfortable. But the truth is, these people don't want to deal with reality. They don't want, and that's why they hate the mainstream media. We hate it because we feel like they bend over backwards to give these people they're telling us the sky is purple, okay? That climate change doesn't exist. That all these things that are factual, okay? And so what are we supposed to do? They have to. So anyway, they hate mainstream media. They call it fake news because it's giving them reality, and they hate it. Look how they got so mad about the election. Fox News told them that Donald Trump had lost.
Right.
And oh my God, they abandoned Fox News because they were fake news now. They were telling them the truth, and they went to Newsmax who would lie to them.
Right.
Fox News has to go. That's what has to happen.
Absolutely. Because now
they should lose their license.
Yeah, we have a percentage of this population now. I mean, you go to a government website. My friend Amy, who's a nurse, was saying that she went to the covid.gov website, and it is absolute just disinformation. And she's like, they're going to get Fauci killed. The stuff that's on there, it's all of the, rabbit hole conspiracy theory bullshit. That they were pushing during the pandemic. And I mean, and that, that's just COVID. What happens when we have, now I was just listening this morning, and there's 900 cases of measles now in the United States.
Yeah, I know. And this guy, that's a whole different.
Yeah, well, I know.
It's such a clown show there. They're all just a bunch of clowns. And then they sit there and they talk about DEI. Like, oh, we want a meritocracy. Like, that is an example. That group of clowns is an example of a meritocracy. Half of them are Nepo babies. And the other half, Donald Trump saw him on TV and made him Secretary of Defense.
Right.
So, I mean, it's just, and what we need, and also this whole thing with China right now, they're telling everybody all kinds of lies about that. They're telling him, oh, he's going to, he's out there telling everybody he's got all these deals and he's on the phone with G. None of that is true. He has no deals.
Right.
Look what he's doing to the economy now. Let me tell you something. He's out there talking about gas is below $1.98 now. I just checked with AAA. I think it's AAA that has the averages, across the country. It's $3.18. Yeah. Okay. Not $1.98. And then he's telling everybody groceries are cheaper. Eggs are down 80%. But remember, he was telling us they were 90%, then 87%. He just makes up numbers. The truth is, eggs are down. He was talking about on Easter how they got them so much cheaper. Yeah, the price of wholesale eggs are down because they had to, they were begging Denmark to send them over eggs to try to get, and so those eggs they're using for an wholesale, like restaurants and stuff like that. They're not, but the egg prices are up higher than ever.
Right.
They're just lying right now. And then they're telling everybody, this is just transition. We're just going to, we're going to come out much better.
Stronger.
They've been screwing you for 50 years. That America, they've been ripping us off. The whole world is ripping us off. Now, they're not mentioning the fact that we're the ones who wrote the rules, okay? We're the ones who benefited the most. We're the wealthiest country in the world because of our trade.
Right.
Okay.
What was the analogy? Didn't you? Was it you that was? Yeah, go ahead.
About that. Okay. Siri Crow. I'm going to give her credit. Siri Crow from Midas Touch used the analogy of it's like a very healthy person showing up at their doctors, and their doctor says, "Oh, let's just say it's Bobby Kennedy. That's your doctor.
Fit as a fiddle. Fit as a fiddle.
Fit as a fiddle. You are fit as a fiddle. You are a healthy.
Sir, they came to me and said, "Sir," with tears in their eyes, "you are the healthiest specimen we have ever seen."
Okay. But so that you come in there and you're healthy, and the doctor says, "Oh yeah, you're healthy. We're just going to inject you with some Ebola and E. coli, and we're going to throw in some measles, okay? And you're going to emerge better than ever." That's what they're telling us. They want to inject us with these diseases for no reason whatsoever. They're injecting a healthy economy with these. There was no reason for him to start this trade war.
Right.
Yes, there were some problems with China. Like, for instance, they were flooding the market with solar panels. I bring this up all the time under Biden, right? Because he had just passed that Inflation Reduction Act, and that came with a lot of spending for green energy, right? So a lot of solar panel, and I'm sure you guys get the phone call, so you know, but there were a lot of solar panel companies in the United States, in America, that were starting up. But China was flooding the market with these cheaper solar panels. So what he did was he put a tariff on those Chinese solar panels of 100%. So therefore, it would give American companies a leg up because they could afford to. People would, not want to buy the Chinese solar panels because they weren't cheaper anymore. They're way more expensive. That's what you're supposed to do with tariffs. They're targeted tariffs.
Yep.
You don't go willy-nilly with a sledgehammer, or not even like with a machine gun and just shoot everything. And it's he does, and not only that, but he was terrified. He used that crazy formula that they pulled out of their ass and he keeps talking about trade deficits. Let me tell you something. Trade deficits are not a bad thing. I wish they weren't called that because people hear deficit and it's like a negative. But Donald Trump is the stupidest man that's ever been president, honestly, probably ever existed in this country. He is so stupid. Well, no, the people that voted for him might be stupider. But anyway, he keeps talking about that. They're ripping us off. They're not ripping us off. The reason why we have trade deficits with some of these countries is because we are a very big, very rich, the richest country in the world. So we have a lot of expendable income, and we buy a lot of shit, okay? So like the Chinese people are not as rich as us, not as many of them have as much money, so they don't buy as much from us. That's why we have, that's like saying, I have a trade deficit with my grocery store, okay? Because I go to my grocery store and I buy all kinds of shit, but they're never buying shit from me. It doesn't make any sense. So it's not a bad, but he keeps talking about that. And everybody that knows better surrounding him, these people that have been in finance, God knows how they've made their money. There's really, seriously, if they believe this shit, they're really stupid. But they're running around spouting this nonsense about trade and how that we're being ripped off. And then, and then Donald Trump comes up with this thing about Christmas. And we need to talk about this more.
The war on Christmas?
The war on Christmas. Yes. Trump's war on Christmas. Yes. Go ahead. You can take it from here. Tell us about the war on Christmas, Karen.
Well, it's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be beautiful. Your children, children. They already have too many toys and they have too many dolls. Specifically,
too many toys.
And too many toys, too many dolls. And so, actually empty shelves at Christmas is going to be a good thing because all they really need is $2. That's all they need.
Donnie $2.
Donnie $2.
That's what we're calling him.
So, he Donald Trump hates Christmas.
He does. He
hates
Christmas.
Capitalism. And,
he does hate capitalism because when he's talking about, he's having that interview with Time Magazine, he's talking about us. We're a store. We're a great, big, beautiful store. And I set the prices. What? You set the prices. Essentially, one man is controlling the prices. That's not capitalism. I mean, that's kind of communistic. That's kind of like communism or something, isn't it? Yeah, where one person is setting all the prices on everything. There's what happened to free market Republicans?
Oh, yeah, well.
They're gone.
Wait a minute. We'll just wait. Let me add that to the list. Not patriots.
Yes. Let's say Christians. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're full of shit. That's what they are.
They're full of shit.
They're all full of shit.
And we'll talk about their patriotism later on when we play that thing about Donald Trump and the Declaration of Independence. Did you get that? I sent that to you.
I did.
Yeah. But I was just going to say, because their patriotism is so phony, they know nothing about this country. And their leader knows nothing about this country.
It's
and
performative.
It's all performative.
All Donald Trump has to do
hump the flag.
Is hump the flag. That's all he has to do.
Yeah. Slap, and for religion, he just sells them a Bible that costs $3 for $59.99 and, made in China. None of this makes sense, okay? He's tariffing China because they're ripping us off, but his Bibles come from China. His hats come from China. Everything in his store comes from China. But yet, they're ripping us off. People need to start buying American. Did you see that stupid woman?
Yeah, but this is but and I think this is maybe where you're going. Where they're like, oh no, like we're manufacturing things here. And, I've talked about, when I was working selling furniture. And yes, we make furniture here. We assemble, we make furniture here.
Right.
However, during the pandemic, during COVID, when he imposed a 25% tariff, and then because of COVID, we had supply chain issues and we had ships sitting offshore with parts because we import the parts.
Right.
So you
the
can't get the
components.
parts, the components and the parts to be able to manufacture. So even the things that we manufacture here are dependent on imports. So imports from China, imports from Mexico, we import from all over the place. So this is going to impact everything. Everything.
Yep. And toys, 80% of all toys are made in China. 90% of all your Christmas goods are made in China. So Christmas is going to be a little sparse this year.
Yeah.
So, everybody needs to go out and buy as many Christmas presents as they can right now. Although maybe they're already shelves are empty. I don't know much about toys anymore.
Yeah, and so so our friend Richard Chu, he's writing a Substack now, and so he was talking about the first 100 days of Trump turmoil. So here are just a few of the chaos numbers, and so he's in wealth management, so he pays a lot of attention. So here are some statistics: 46% of toy companies in the U.S. say they expect to go out of business within weeks.
Oh, God.
128,000 federal workers lost their jobs in the last 60 days. 40% of cargo ships leaving China for the U.S. were empty this past week. Shoes are expected to go up 87% this year. Apparel is expected to go up by 65% this year. U.S. exports are expected to drop 18% this year. Tourism to the U.S. is down 20% this year. All foreign goods up at least 10% on the U.S. dollar alone.
This Christ. Yeah, we're in trouble. We're in so much trouble. And, the economy was already faltering anyway because of the deportations and because of the layoffs.
Yeah.
And he had already tariffed Canada and Mexico. And by the way, people talk about how he paused these tariffs. No, he left the 10%. That nobody ever talks about this. He continued the 10% tariff on everybody but China. And by the way, Canada and Mexico are still being tariffed. Like 20%, right? No, this is the problem. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows, and so that's the problem. Damages, right, and so the horse is in the hospital.
Our brand is dead.
Yes, and right, so they're not going to. Nobody's gonna. It's like it's a wrap, dude. We're not. You are so untrustworthy, so erratic, and
unreliable,
so we're
unstable.
done. We're unstable, and so what are they doing? They're just moving past us.
They're moving on.
They're moving on. They're going to be negotiating and building trade alliances with China and with these other, and
the
so.
EU.
Yeah. So basically all you're doing is you're saying, we're going to go it alone, and America gets to, that's what America first. I thought he was going to put America first. And this is what America first is. America alone.
America alone. And what's funny? He looks back at this. This is what they're doing. They look back at this golden age, like from the 40s, 50s, and 60s, right? Maybe even the 70s, as this, manufacturing boom. But the reason why we had a manufacturing boom then is because we were the only game in town post World War II. We had devastated Europe, okay?
Right.
Russia and the United States, and Russia was devastated too. Germany was devastated. Britain was devastated. So, we were the only game in town at the time. That's never going to be recreated. We're beyond that. China is looking at us and going, what is going on with them? They want to be us? We wanted to be them. They were striving to be a country that kind of imported stuff that had other countries be able to make things for them, like Taiwan or like where were they? I don't know all the Malaysia, I guess, but Bangladesh. But now the United States wants to go back to that, factory plant, the giant factory plants and not only do they want to do that, but they don't want anybody to be unionized. They don't want to pay anybody anything.
Right.
They don't want to give us any kind of, pensions or any of the stuff that we had back then.
Right.
Because of unions, right?
Right. And they want
That's what made it survivable, is because people would work at these things. Like my grandparents worked in shoe factories and textile factories. And then when they retired, they had great pensions and they had great health care and all these other things. But they want to do that and give people nothing, no hope, nothing at the end.
Yep.
It's just,
squalor and poverty for you, Grandma and Grandpa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. You've done, we've used you up, while you were, able to work and and now you get to eat cat food. And when you get sick, fuck you, Grandma and Grandpa. That's it.
Well, guess what? Grandma and Grandpa are moving in with you. Okay.
Exactly.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
Well, but meanwhile, the cost of housing, everything else, the cost of, goods and services is going up, and
it's just the worst of everything. And Grandma, by the way, has got Alzheimer's, so she might be wandering off occasionally.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I have to laugh because it's just so horrible. Oh my God.
No, I know. I mean, well, it's
so bad. It is, like sometimes when something's so bad and you just start laughing because it seems so absurd and surreal.
Yeah, that's
because we're at.
It's lunacy.
Yeah,
and it's just it's absurd, and it's you cry, you laugh,
it becomes a part of you.
Go into the corner and get into the fetal position, and I mean all of
hang in there. That's what you do. Like what was it? Daily Show, or maybe it was one of those that had the little sign with the little cat hanging up. Hang in there,
baby.
That's
hang in there, baby.
That's all you need is your hang in there poster.
Keep on trucking.
Yeah, keep on trucking and hang in there.
Yep.
Yeah, they all. Everybody had those posters.
Yep.
So it's not going to be easy, guys, and there's going to be some pain.
But we can end on this. I mean, Donald Trump clearly understands
America.
Yes,
America.
and how our humble beginnings and the Declaration of Independence and what it means.
They're such patriots.
They're such patriots.
And
so here he is explaining. This is in the interview with what's his name?
Terry Moran on
ABC.
Yeah.
Here we go.
And of course, you have the Declaration of Independence.
What does it mean to you?
Well, it means exactly what it says. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of unity and love and respect, and it means a lot. And it's something very special to our country.
Lincoln's portrait up there. I'm not familiar.
You love to see Terry Moran's face. He looks at Trump and then he looks back up at it. He's like, "What did he say? What is he saying?"
This guy's brain is pudding. He doesn't know a goddamn thing.
And he thinks that thing's real, the Declaration. It's a copy. It's not the real Declaration of Independence. Not the original. But he's got it behind those curtains. Like,
oh my God.
It's just
the big reveal. We only bring it out.
This fake Declaration you can buy for, $5.99.
Yeah. Yeah, with a Trump Bible.
Yeah, well, that's true. Well, that's $59.99, Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything.
Well, I mean, it reminds me of, what's your favorite part of the Bible?
All of them. All of them. I love them.
Especially, you know what? The 2 Corinthians.
Yes. The Old Testament and New Testament, both. I love them both. Both are really, everybody loves them.
Mm-hmm.
They're about unity and love.
Yes.
And, if I were, you should have asked him, you know what, really, if I could get a hold of Donald Trump, I would ask him questions like, so tell me the 3 branches of government and what does democracy mean? And, just the things that he said, like when was the Declaration of Independence signed? I bet she could not answer that.
Yeah.
I bet she could not answer that. Because he doesn't know anything. He thinks all of a sudden he's on this McKinley kick, right?
Yeah.
Because McKinley apparently enacted tariffs. Oh, but McKinley, by the way, backed off of those because they were causing so much damage. But the truth is, that we're back with that's what he wants to recreate, the Gilded Age.
Yeah.
The Gilded Age, when we had
the robber barons,
excessive materialism, and over the wealth was like people would buy like if you've seen the Titanic, remember the kind of just gaudy kind of display of wealth that was over the top. That was what that was. It was like that. They would have these lavish parties, and people would just have zoos on their property and shit like that. And it was just, and he heard that, and he's like, oh yeah, that's what I want. Because he doesn't know anything about how we live. That's why he doesn't know. I mean, he can sit there and talk about how we shouldn't be, we should only get 2 Barbie dolls when he's got a golden fucking toilet. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Go look
2
in the
Barbie dolls and, never mind your groceries, that old fashioned word, that old.
Yeah, groceries. Because he's never heard it because people are always just out, I mean, he orders from a restaurant every night.
Right.
In Mar-a-Lago. He's always had, room service or he goes out to the dining room and have somebody cook it for him. He's never bought groceries.
Never.
He's never driven either. He doesn't know how to drive. That's why he didn't know the Tesla. He thought it was, look at this. It's all computerized now. Ooh. Look at this.
Look at this. Ooh, what am I signing? And the executive orders.
Ooh, this is a good one. This is a good one.
Oh, wait, kids in cages? Ooh, fun.
Deporting U.S. citizens? The brown ones, sir.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Only the brown ones, sir. With tears in my eyes, they came to me with the executive order. Said, sir, we have an executive order. Well, which one's this one?
Because he's not writing them. This is my theory, and I'll repeat it. I think Stephen Miller is the one really in charge. And here's why I think that, and I've told you this. Because during the Signal Gate thing, in the transcripts, if you listen to it, Stephen Miller is the one who gives the go-ahead on the attack on Yemen. That has never been done. It's always been POTUS, okay? But POTUS doesn't know what's going on. He's gone. And also, he tells him, Donald Trump is talking about the Supreme Court decision. Oh, we won that 0-9. They lost it, 9-0. And
that's not what's important now, though.
But he sits there and he says, because Stephen Miller, that's what Stephen Miller told him.
Right.
Because yes, we won. We won, Mr. Trump, whatever he calls him, Mr. President, and that's why I think, look at the things that are happening. It looks like Stephen Miller's handprints. It really does.
Yeah, he is creepy as fuck. That guy is seriously demented. Yeah. Oh my God.
I know. And I think Donald Trump is too, but Donald Trump is he doesn't care he doesn't want to do anything really. He just wants to play golf and come in and get to sign big boy papers. He doesn't want to write them or really know what they're on. He's just going to go and sign them. And then he's going to go back out and play golf again. And then everybody's going to cheer for him and call him sir and sir. We'll have
them with tears in his eyes.
Tears in their eyes. And they'll have their little cabinet meetings where everybody has their little circle jerk and they just talk about how much they love Donald Trump. And especially, what's her name? That god-awful attorney general, Pam Bondi.
Pam Bondi.
Who said on Fox News that Donald Trump had saved 20 million people by stopping this one fentanyl shipment. And then she went on and said, Donald Trump saved 120 million people. And then she went on in that circle jerk and said, Donald Trump has saved 258 million Americans, which would be 3/4 of Americans. These people are nuts. They don't know anything.
They're just making it up, and
they're making it as they go along. It's cosplay.
It's all cosplay. It's all, performative patriotism, performative Christianity,
performative everything.
Everything. Yep. And it is. And so we have got to
know what we're up against. We need to finally realize we have to appeal to every single one of our Democratic leaders that they have got to stop thinking that they can work with these people.
What's that? Chuck Schumer.
Gretchen Whitmer. Gretchen
Yeah,
Whitmer.
Gretchen Whitmer. Oh God. Okay, you're gonna get me into another 15
I know.
minutes on this
We
podcast.
won't. We won't talk about that. You guys look it up. Okay,
Yeah,
Google it. Gretchen Whitmer Trump.
Yeah, look it up.
Okay.
But really, so it is going to be all of us, like you said. It is going to be getting out, voting. It is going to be talking to people, educating people, registering people. In the meantime, we have got to remember, because life is coming at us fast and furious, just in and of itself, on its own.
Take some breaks.
Take some breaks. We've lost some, people are losing loved ones. We just lost somebody who is a part of the Stephanie Miller community. Jill Sobiel, who is a beautiful, beautiful person, extremely talented, and just such a shock to lose her. And and it is just in and of itself, it would be bad enough, but then it's on top of all of this other stuff, this existential stuff that is coming at us, that we should not be having to have come at us like this. Our government should we should not feel threatened by our government. Talk about tyranny. This is tyrannical. It is, but we have got to, take some time out every day, do a little bit of decompressing, self-care, yoga, meditate, take walks, watch mindless, or, read a book that doesn't have anything to do with this stuff. Therapy, but we have to stay healthy. We have to stay in the fight. And, be together. Don't isolate. Find community.
Take care of yourself. Like exercise, go for walks, things like that. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, we have to.
It's kind of like dealing with COVID. Only this is self-inflicted. This didn't have to happen.
It did not. It did not. So anyway, but that's it for today. For this episode. But we love all of you. We appreciate all of our listeners. And please, wherever you listen to this podcast, if you can leave a review, give us, as many stars as you possibly can. And we love you all, and stay in the fight.
Love
stay
you
safe.
Guys. Stay
healthy.
Yeah, stay healthy, please.
Yep.